know what that means. We're gonna have a special guest. So get out the broom and sweep the place clean and dust off the mat so the welcome can be seen. Roll out the carpet, strike up the band, and give out with a hip hooray, hip hooray! Oh, wiggle your ears like good musketeers. We're gonna present our guest today. 'Cause Tuesday is guest star day. Jimmy, roll out the carpet, strike up the band, and give out with a hip hooray, hip hooray! Oh, wiggle your ears like good musketeers. We're gonna present our guest today. 'Cause Tuesday is guest star day.
Hey, I'm Kyle. Thanks for joining me and Andy for the Legendary Creature podcast. So, if you're listening with your kids or your conservative grandma, maybe don't, because we swear.
Or you can check us out on YouTube, because hey, that's no place for conservative old women or children.
Fuck yeah. All right, fellas, should we get started?
Ooh, yeah, let's. I've been excited for this.
All right, Andy, we've got a guest this week.
Yeah, we do.
Andrew, do you want to introduce yourself?
No. How awkward would that be? Just like, no, I don't want to interact with you at all. I'm the guest, but no, you're on your own.
You're going to talk about my stuff, and I'm just going to approve.
Like, you guys are right.
I'll text you at the end.
Just fawn over me. I want an hour and a half of you just praising everything that I could possibly think of and do.
Well, we'll do that for sure.
No, I mean, my name is Andrew, and I do all of this stuff at MTG Muddstah.
All of it.
Yeah,
you're
I'm
a
actually
one-man show,
I'm three other people as well in each game. There is no one named Trevor. There is no one named like Sean. I go and I work out like a crazy amount to get this huge muscular physique. But,
you got like people's hulking arms
so
leaning
you play
into
one
the
side
table.
of the table 1 week, and then just make sure the
basically like I've had to sort of like stagger the games because I filmed the different spots at different points in my life, and it's finally coming together now. I'm also really good at guessing what future commanders might be so that I can stay up to date.
I love this.
I shot that 5 years ago.
I called Edgar Markov in 1998. Get at me.
Yeah, taste it.
This one's coming down the pike here.
You know, with how difficult it is to get good goddamn footage with us, that might be not an easier thing to do. You know?
It's tough, man. Like, I don't know where you guys film, but like sometimes in shops, like right now I'm in Ottawa, so I'm looking for a new one, and I'm looking for one to have fun with. I found a lot of really nice shops, but sometimes just like because of their location, the way that they have it set up, like with the tables, and if I put a tripod down, like you can't access the bathroom, so that's just not going to work.
It's like you're staying there the whole time.
Well, how does that work? Do you go into a shop and kind of with all of your gear, and they...
So typically, like I like to contact them ahead of time, like on Twitter or Facebook, or even just give them a call, and I just let them know who I am. I send them a link to the channel, and I just say, would you guys be okay with me coming to film? And like, I would say out of all the shops that I visited, both in Canada and the US, there's only been one that's told me I've had to pay to be there, in which case I didn't go back.
Yeah.
And all the other ones are just super, super happy to have me because like people come to the shop as a result, and like it's just more people, more traffic, more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you name drop the store, right? You're like, I'm here at this place, and they wanted to charge you to film.
Sure that it's.
They wanted to charge you to film.
Yeah, it was really weird. I think there was a misunderstanding. But at that point, I found a different shop anyway, so I just sort of let it slide.
You're like, never mind. See you later.
Okay, so you show up and then you just say, does anyone want to play under the camera? Like you just kind of ask the people already there? Or?
Yeah, and I mean, like with Facebook and Twitter now, people, especially now that the channel's getting like slightly bigger, people are messaging me and they're like, hey, listen, like I'm going to be in Jersey or I'm going to be in Ottawa this weekend. Like, can we meet up and play a game? I'd love to be on camera. And I'm like, okay. And it's just like typical kind of stuff. Like don't have anything inappropriate. don't have any proxies, just like the kind of stuff that would be a little bit irksome to someone who watched it and was very committed to the game or didn't want to see awkward sleeves.
Oh yeah, like us who we've usually got AP that's got his mat with the chick getting a tattoo
on her ass.
On her ass. Like,
yeah.
We probably drive.
Everybody
a few
wants
people
that
away.
mat. We get messages every time like, "Where do you get that mat, dude?" Like everybody wants it. I think
true. And it matches AP.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like I mean that's it. I mean, it's okay for people to have those things, but at the same time, I just hope that they're understanding when it's just like we're just trying to keep the appeal for the audience as general as possible. So like,
yeah,
that's not really a route we've taken, I think.
which is fair. I mean, there's
we're definitely in a canyon for sure.
Yeah, there's consumers for everything though. I mean, some of it's quite nice to have, like just kind of let it fly, just do what you want, enjoy kind of like that freedom without having to constrain yourself to making sure like everything is like PG.
Yeah. Sure.
How much footage do you generally get that's useful, like percentage wise, like after your...
That's a good question. So like I have 2 cameras with me at any given time usually. I bought a second one recently, and most times, like in Jersey, I was filming on a Thursday night. I'd have both going at the same time. I'd get about 2 to 4 games per camera.
Oh, whoa.
On average, I would say maybe 20% of them are not usable because of a misplay that people just didn't see at the time.
And you can't like
or
wipe
a
it
misunderstanding.
out.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate because some of those games are really good.
Yeah.
The other thing is also there's sometimes where games are just very lopsided, like, you know, like where it's very clear from the get-go, so-and-so is going to win, basically. Like he's got the Soul Ring and the Mana Crypt in turn 1, and then just card draw, and he's just so far ahead of everyone else. Those ones get kind of pushed to the sideline.
It's not compelling to watch, I guess.
They're not compelling, and they're like 15 minutes long. So
you're like my videos are already 15 minutes and the game was that long. So
exactly. If I cut it down anymore, it's going to be like a 3-minute video where it's going to be like, okay, he casts a Soul Ring, he casts a Mana Crypt, everyone scoops. The end.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get that. It's kind of interesting as we've launched into the gameplay realm a little bit, and we just film at our house. Like we have like a game table room, and just
that's awesome.
You know, so we just kind of set up a lighting rig and kind of like just do our thing there. But we definitely have that. We have games where there's misplays, and sometimes they leak through past us. We don't even notice until we've published it, and somebody's like, "Hey guys,"
and we've been editing it for hours.
Yeah,
looking at it over and over and over again.
And then those lopsided ones too. We're like, well, let's delete that one. That's
or ones that just don't resolve in a compelling way. Like it just kind of everybody gives up or something. Like,
those can happen too. Like where it's just kind of like, let's just get to the next game, please. Let so and so win so we can just finish it and just move on.
Yeah. So, what launched you into doing gameplay videos initially? Like
a back injury.
Okay.
So like I was working as a cook while I was doing my university degree in Montreal, and I slipped and I misaligned 3 discs in my lower back. Ooh. And so I was doing like 5 days of physio, and basically I really couldn't work in a kitchen environment because my back was just so weak and I couldn't bend over and I really couldn't do very much. And my wife had just come back to start working on her PhD defense, and she's like, you should do something about Magic. She's like, you love it. You guys have been playing it for like 3 years at this point. Why don't you do something to like spend the time? And I had an old copy of Premiere Pro from like, I don't even know what version it is, but it's like one of the it's still at a key, like it's not the cloud-based one like it is now.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a little old, but I started playing with that and it was fun. And then I started doing the gameplays because I thought, this could be interesting. I started watching some of the other channels. I think it was like, I want to say it's called The Other 99, but I don't think it's called that.
Yeah, I wish those guys were still around.
Yeah, they did fantastic stuff, and I was like, "This is so cool."
They definitely kind of pathfinded the YouTube culture for EDH, but then just stopped.
Yeah, well, they I think they said that they didn't have the time. They just their play group was kind of going their separate ways. People were moving. People were getting families and kids and marriages and stuff
it
like
just
that.
wasn't
And it's
sustainable.
just like, that's it. The natural progress of life kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of went from there.
That's your wife is awesome, dude.
Yeah, she's cool.
like,
She,
hey, you're doing you're into magic. Why don't you like carry that further and let that kind of occupy yourself and give you something to do when you're dealing with that injury? That's awesomely supportive. I'm in favor of that.
Well, that's it. And then I mean, I had another job after the cooking thing, and then we moved to Jersey, and then I had to get a work visa while I was in Jersey, and then in the meantime, I just sort of focused on that, and then it's just kind of, I still do like technical writing on the side, which is what my degree was in.
Oh, cool.
But I supplement it partly with the videos and just have fun with it, kind of thing.
Right on. Well, you've got a deck that you play on your channel that has deeply intrigued the two of us.
I'm obsessed with it.
In a good way?
Yes.
Is it? Should I be concerned? Like, do I need to pull the blinds
I'm
down
obsessed
outside
with
of
it.
my window?
Like I'm caressing my phone screen right now, and it's just the tapped out list right now, just in front of me. I just keep
agree.
zooming in on it.
As one should.
you know?
As one should.
Andy, as we like to say, Andy needs to have a platonic moment with himself.
Yeah, I do with this deck. It's dope, man. When I first saw it, I was like, "What does this guy do?" And
Nothing. He doesn't do anything.
he doesn't
That's
do
the
anything.
whole thing.
Right? Yeah.
Well, why don't you introduce the commander for us,
Yeah,
Andrew?
please. Let's get
So
to
it's
this.
Mistform Ultimus, and for 3 colorless and 1 blue, you get a commander who basically, I think it must be errated at this point, or I don't know, but it's a shapeshifter. But more specifically, he's also a wall, but he can still attack, which is relevant because you don't want your walls to not attack.
Yeah.
And so he's a mono blue commander that does literally nothing. He's a 3/3 for 4.
That's it.
C'est tout. That's it. Done. Finished. Point final. Like, there's nothing else to him. Like, you no reduction in cost, no fancy kobolds, no sacrifice effects, nothing. You get
He's just the mono blue
3/3 for
Yargle.
4.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that's it. He was the prototype for Yargle. They're like, we need to make
Give
it a
him
little
at least
bit
some
better.
more power. Yeah. But no, we're going with the 3/3.
Just a modest 3/3 for 4.
Yeah, I mean, it's like even got that like old scale to it, right? Like it's a 3/3 for 4.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not even. But anyway, tell us more. Tell us more, Andrew. What are you doing to put Mistform Ultimus to work?
So I don't know. Like, it was I don't really like blue in Commander for the most part. So I wanted to do something a little bit more, not unique, because let's face it, no, nothing's unique anymore on the internet. But I wanted to do something that was going to fit my play style. So it's more combat oriented, more you're not going for like the hard control, the constant counter spells, the constant combo kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And just going a different route with it, just playing some cards that might not necessarily get some of the needed love that they should get in EDH that see play in other formats. So
It's so I'm kind of with you. Like my first mono blue deck was Unesh, and I don't know, I hadn't had a lot of desire to build a mono blue deck other than I was like, well, I should probably do it at some point. I should have that experience, but not wanting to be the like hard counter kind of guy.
yeah, well, I also don't like, my problem with mono blue and counter spells in general in EDH is if you're playing against like it's a 4-player pod, if you're counterspelling one spell, unless it's something like Cryptic Command where there's like modal choices to it where you can replenish it or draw, like you're basically giving 2 other opponents a significant advantage over both you and the other opponent. And to just kind of build a deck around that, I don't know, like I see Baral and Azami and stuff like that. Baral especially, I think it just doesn't seem like it's going to lead to that much of an advantage. And in 4-player, you have to have that constant card advantage. Otherwise, you're just out of the game.
That's a good point. That's something we talk about on our podcast quite a bit, is how like control tempo type stuff doesn't scale into EDH very well.
Yeah, because you have these other observers.
Yeah, exactly as you said. Like the other two people that didn't participate in that interaction are the ones that come out ahead. And I think Andy and I both are believers in, you only counter things that impact your game and what you're trying to do. I think there's a lot of people that get into this space of countering anything that just might be good for other people.
Yeah, and or they'll go down the Talrand or Baral route where it's like, I don't want to think about what I should counter. I'm just going to load the deck full of counters. But even still, like you're not setting a paywall up high enough for 3 people not to get through. Like you're going to run out eventually.
Yeah. Like there's a finite amount of counter spells in EDH that are worth running. And even of those, I wouldn't want a critical mass of them like we'd see in Baral or again like Talrand, because you at least get advantage by casting those in those decks.
Mm-hmm.
In anything else though, like it's so detrimental is not the right word, but just not what you want to be doing in EDH. You want to be constantly forwarding your position on the board. And like you guys said, like
and using your mana on your turn.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you want to make sure that you're saving those counter spells for like, oh, okay, that's a lethal exsanguinate. Yeah, I'm going to stop that.
It's a grave pact. I won't hold my commander. I'll stop that.
Exactly. Like stuff like that, I agree with. But like otherwise, yeah, you get people who are just too willy-nilly with it. And you're helping your opponents more than you're hindering them at that point.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of the expander for mono blue, like the problem. Like when we went over our like mono blue deck series, there's not, outside of Azami, who, she's just like this card draw nightmare, there's not a lot of compelling mono blue commanders, ones that allow you to, like you were saying, like advance your board position. Like they're, other than drawing the cards. Because I didn't make one until Nezahal, and he's really clunky as fuck. He's 7 mana.
But once he's out,
he's not cheap. He's not cheap.
Yeah, but God, I love him. I mean, he's just, I don't know. I have a good time playing him because if I lose him, I'm like, all right, whatever, he's out. But yeah, I only have 3 counter spells in that. I think 3 is like my starting number. I don't think I'm gonna ignore the 3 that make sense. Like I just better hold on to them. But I'm not looking to be that countery guy. I think I had an era there when I was playing Musings where I think I had like 7 or 8.
Oh wow!
At one point.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and it just. I'd spend the game countering people, when they try to move up or move in. And yeah, it just pissed people off. You pull the person's hate that you countered. The other 2 don't lose any cards. Like you're just in a bad spot a lot of the time for even doing it. And then unless you're going to lose it.
That's it. And like it's the problem I have with it is like a lot of the counter spells are just not good. Like I've cut counter spell from so many of my decks because like originally I thought like, wow, 2 mana to counter a spell, that's fantastic. But then you're just left with nothing. Like you get nothing other than just countering that spell. And beyond
could have
that,
been a Mind Stone that you cast or something.
That's it.
And then with counterspell, like a lot of them, the color demand where you're holding up blue so much, and if you're in multiple colors, like if you're running Izet or something like that.
Oh yeah,
you're preserving your
like
blue just to cast counter spells, and you're not able to advance things with it. Yeah, but that's a good point. Like they're not always viable.
Yep, that's it. And like so, unless you're running some like Mana Drain or I like Arcane Denial, but I know that it's got a bit of a what's the word? Controversial past where people don't like giving other people cards when they counter spells.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But stuff like that's more interesting to me than just a blank counter spell kind of thing.
We see a lot of Arcane Denial in our play group.
I like it. I think it's a good counter spell. I like drawing a card when I counter someone's stuff. And,
right?
Yeah, and
it also kind of like helps. It also helps sort of the bad feels when you get something countered.
Off. Yeah.
That's it. You're like, you're going to get 2 cards on the next upkeep. Just calm down. They might be better. Like, you'll see how it is.
We'll see.
The blue talking points. It's going to get
You weren't
better.
going to see that card for another 2 turns, my dude. Okay. Like just,
yeah.
Yeah. So you landed on this one because you felt like, there's nothing about this commander that's conducive to loading the deck full of your typical blue stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. And like, it didn't pull you in any particular route beyond
it pulls you in all routes.
Exactly. It's
all,
you
all
play
tribal
you play
routes.
all.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy.
So it's a fun deck. Like I like it a lot. it still needs a lot of testing. I think I'm almost finished with it, but
Well, when did you get it
issue
rolling?
with
When
it
did you
is-
first put it together?
I think December or November of this year.
Oh shit, this thing's
the
pretty
year
new.
past. Yeah, it's about 4 months old, 5 months old. It was inspired by like my dislike of blue, and my buddy Simon had made one. I'm gonna say 3 years ago,
Uh-huh.
well before like kind of this like influx of blue cards that are tribal based or lords and things like this. And basically, yeah, he was the only one that stood out to me. Like I'd built a zombie when I first started playing EDH.
Right.
Wizard tribal. It was cute, very narrow, very linear. You always wanted to get the combo pieces out as fast as you can and then win, because otherwise everyone knows what's coming and they just mess with your board.
Yeah.
One of those commanders.
I really do want like a wizard tribal deck that doesn't need that. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I just didn't see us get there with Inala
Mm.
because of
She
wants ETBs. Like,
yeah.
I don't know what to do with that. Like, yeah, because Izami's like itched at my brain, but yeah, I think I'm always going to head down that route. Like only anecdotal things I've heard about it is just find mind over matter, like as quick as you can, and just go to town and lab man out. And now that effect is going to be put on another card they spoiled today, like
The Jace.
Yeah. So I don't think I'm ever going to make it. I really do want like a wizard deck, but it's just I don't see it happening until they make something else.
Andy here's got his wizard hat. Like he's channeling his inner wizard hard.
Yeah, man. Yeah, but zombie's not for me for sure.
She's an acquired taste.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about some of the main lines of play that you've built into Mistform Ultimus.
So I mean, like beyond the typical just like smashing with your commander, doing commander damage, like the main strategy beyond that is to basically build up a board worth of creatures that are just threatening and essentially unblockable. And so in particular the merfolk tribe, because I mean, like I found that when it came to building the deck, you can be really overwhelmed with the amount of lords you can put into the deck. There's a lot. There's a good chunk of them.
There's spirits. There's wizard tribal stuff. Yeah.
And so like what I've been doing is I've decided. I know that some people were worried about focusing too much on specific tribes, but I was finding that some of the more outlier kind of tribes were just very counterintuitive to what I was trying to do. So I ended up focusing just on merfolk, wizards, and slivers.
Mm-hmm.
Because the merfolk and the wizards, I would say, probably have the most representation of all the tribes in blue by a significant margin in terms of just card choice. And they also have a lot of overlap because you see a lot of merfolk wizards.
I was gonna say, like those two, like there's some cross pollination there for sure.
Yeah, this really crystallizes it for me. Because my question with this was like, because there's a ton. I'm like, how did he land on these ones specifically? So yeah, you kind of told yourself, I'm going to pick 3 tribes because like adding a 4th just makes it more diffuse, or
well, I mean, like initially during the testing, like I just kind of splashed like Mere tribal in there. There was Fairy tribal. There was just like, it was like, okay, it gives +1/+1 and it gives an ability. Boom, you're in, done, sold. Like, you don't have to tell me more. But like,
I think I'd be doing that too.
Stuff like Scion of Una, which in theory is fantastic because it's like, okay, it's flash. It's only 3, so it's like about on par with most of the other lords, and it gives Shroud when it not when it enters, but like while it's on the field. But basically looks really good,
right?
But then in play, beyond the fact that I don't really have any other fairies in the deck, I was also finding things like Shroud kind of come back to bite me because I can't gear up Mistform with, say, like Lightning Greaves or
I was gonna say, I noticed you've got some equipment in here, and so that would get in the way.
Exactly, and so it's like that got cut, and then like there was the Paragon of something. It's like the mono blue. Lord from one of the core sets.
Yeah, okay.
He got cut because all he did was pump my board, which is just okay. But if I can't connect, or if there's like a fog effect like Spike Weaver where I'm just never going to connect, what's the point? Like my guys could be 99.99, and then he just sits there and does nothing.
Yeah.
The Paragon of the Gathering Mists. He just gives
That's
them
the
a +1. And yeah, it's just a tap to grant flying.
That's it. And so like Merfolk and Wizards were pretty clear. Like it was very easy to see like, okay, blue, like Patron Wizard's fantastic. There's like what's it called? Sea Hunter, I think it is, where it's the equivalent of like you can tutor Merfolk straight to the field.
Right.
You got like Lord of Atlantis, you have Master of the Pearl Trident, like basically like the really almost like Merfolk modern deck where you just have like a lot of really good creatures that you want to just jam in. But things were happening where I was finding that even with these out, they weren't able to get through. And so Slivers offered sort of that evasion that I was lacking from Merfolk and Wizards by like running stuff like Wing Sliver, Gale Rider Sliver, Shifting Sliver, and like Shadow Sliver. All of a sudden, Mistform can get through no matter what.
Yeah, so that you're getting unblockable going on for sure, and
that's
things
it.
like that. So
Sliver Wizard. Huh.
Sliver Wizard plant is a thing that happens on occasion, and like you have so much flexibility, and there's so much ridiculousness in the deck that really just tickles me in a way that I didn't think was possible in EDH, especially considering like I've played a lot of tribal decks. Like I've got Krenko Goblin Tribal. I played like Freyalise. I played Elf Tribal. I played all kinds of stuff, and this is just. Like you take those decks where they're tuned and you got all kinds of fun synergies, and then you just kind of push them a little bit higher, and that's kind of where Mistform sits for me.
Yeah, it's like now I'm looking at it like really I'm just looking at these cards and I'm just like rewording it where it says your commander has this, your commander has hexproof, your commander like it's almost like every one of them are in your commander's tribe. They're like tribal, commander tribal or something. Mm-hmm. I don't know how to like say it, but yeah. Yeah, I think, I think this is like a deck that would really itch my brain for a while. I bet you're constantly like pulling stuff in and out of it.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm still tweaking it and stuff like that. And there are cards that when I've gotten sort of feedback from other players are like Hivestone. People hated Hivestone in my deck. They're like, why would you want Slivers? And I was like, hold on, like let's look at it. I can play one blue for a Gale Rider Sliver, and my board all of a sudden has flying. Like, are you kidding me? Like that's insane. Like, no, we're doing that. We're everything's a sliver now. And stuff like that is just fantastic. And also, it works really well with like some of like land cards, like Sliver Hive. Sliver Hive is not something I see outside of
a Sliver deck.
The Sliver, that's it, the Sliver deck. But I play it in Mistform because sometimes paying 5 mana at the end of turn to make a Sliver is still good. Like if I'm holding up that Cryptic Command or something like that, this is a good use of mana at the end of turn.
Yeah, you've got to sync for it. Like if you don't end up having to use it.
Yeah, you get a relevant creature type that's kind of a well for all these abilities to stack on. So you get another one of the tap from the shifting, and is that the one that taps things down when it attacks? The shifting sliver? No,
shifting is every slivers are unblockable. Period.
Oh, okay.
Just like
isn't there
can't
one
be
that
stopped.
does that, or is it not blue? Where it attacks, it'll tap a permanent out of the way.
No,
there's a couple that taps to tap permanents, but I don't know about like a Frost Titan effect. I don't know about that.
Huh. Yeah, I thought that was the one, but yeah, because I ran a Slivers deck for a minute, and like everybody else gets really bored of it.
Oh yes,
yeah, because I did it for God, dude, I could probably count in one hand how many games I even played, and it was expensive. That is
to get a land base for a 5-color deck and everything.
Yeah, like I don't know, like when you get into the EDH, like you realize, oh, this is achievable. Like I can tutor Slivers into play or whatever. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of decks I think just set people up to, you're gonna scrap it. Like Nekusar is one of them. Like I see a lot of people build it and then they have a couple games and they're like, it's the same shit every game. Like they either kill me or they don't.
The linear nature of a deck, the more linear it is, I find the more likely people are to get bored of it.
Yeah, the shorter its half-life is.
Yeah, because it's a one-trick pony and it's like, cool, I did it once and everyone's going to expect it from now on. Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is... it's a hard lesson to learn. You spend a lot of money learning that lesson.
Yeah, you can get burned pretty badly on that when like investing in stuff like some spells. Thankfully, like things like Wheel of Fortune, especially for a Nekusar deck, probably not a bad card to have picked up.
Yeah, you're gonna have another place for that card for sure.
Yeah, but some of the more like concentrated ones like Underworld Dreams, I think it is, might not be as transferable to other decks.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Let's I want to kind of look at some of Like, are there some synergies or combos that you get particularly excited about, or that you feel really, really passionate about when you were constructing this deck? Like, I guess the reason I ask is I'm looking at things. I'm like, I see some of the cool stuff you're doing with wizards, and I'm like seeing your Docent of Perfection in there, and some of that kind of stuff.
Well, Docent was like a draft all-star for me in, I think it was Shadows of Innistrad, or is it
it's Eldritch
Mastery or whatever, or Moon?
Yeah, Eldritch Moon.
It's so good. I mean, like, you're casting spells anyway in the deck because it's a blue deck, so there's a lot of draw spells.
Yeah,
and then you're getting wizards, and then it flips and it makes your wizards better. Like, it seemed like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Two of my favorite cards in the deck, not just one. Quicksilver Fountain is a card that I've always wanted to play with and never really gotten a chance to. So it made sense for this deck because not only does it hit people's critical lands like Gaia's Cradles and things like that, but it also sets you up really well to work with the lords from Merfolks because it gives them all island walk.
Yeah.
And the lands turn into islands.
Do you get to choose the land, or do they?
You don't get to choose a land. It's a long game basically, but you have to. It's the waiting game. You have to make sure like you're doing it long enough that you can sort of sustain it.
Yeah,
but it's 3 mana, so you can get it out early enough.
Well, yeah, and
you
a lot
can get
of
it out
people
on like
are...
turn 2 sometimes, and
Sure.
it puts people into positions where they have to make the decision of, do I play a land or do I not? And then basically kind of like remove all the flood counters and then start it over again, and then allow myself to do it. Because it can be awkward. It can be really uncomfortable because you don't want to use those. You don't want to lose your utility lands.
Bro, this
but all
card,
of a sudden,
oh
if
my
you're
God.
if you're in a 2-color deck and you've locked yourself out of one of the colors, because it becomes just an island, nothing else. Like, you don't get the whole like Urborg where it's whatever
it
it
is
is
just an
plus.
island.
This is like a slow flood contamination is what this is.
Yeah, that's it. And it's such a fun card. And I thought it was like really flavorful, and it worked in well with what I wanted to do. And sometimes you have to hate out utility lands because they're so powerful.
That early
if they've
Cabal
left-
coffers, dude. Like, they're not going to really be looking to play it. You know, like it just shuts it down. It's just they're backlogging their swamps as they go. Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
So it's just, and like you said, like it's first of all, it's 3, so it's perfect to find with Trophy Mage, which is one of my favorite kind of cards in the deck. So like it's just a fun little utility card that I think kind of fits with what I want to do, and it's also like just a fun little blue card, even though it's an artifact.
I'm into that because if it gets the bigger thing of messing around with people's lands, that's cool. But at the very least, that it's going to serve the function of helping you get your island walk in place.
Exactly.
Give you a tunnel for your evasion.
That's a beautiful pick. I really like that.
Yeah. And then the other one is like, it's from one of the commander sets. It's probably a bit of a no-brainer, but Path of Ancestry basically gives all of your creatures in the deck scry 1.
Oh yeah. I was just watching your most recent gameplay video with Mistform, and you had the Path of Ancestry play late, and you were kind of like, this isn't when I wanted it.
Yeah.
It's great in the deck, but
well, it's like turn 11, you're just like, okay, why am I playing a tap land right now? This is not where I want to be.
Yeah.
But like, if you can get this out turn 1, turn 2, the amount of like, because I think they equate scry 1 to like half a card worth of card advantage, I think is for what I remember reading.
Yeah, I mean the quality draw, it just qualifies your draw from there out.
That's it. It's so good. It's fantastic.
Expedition map worth?
Well, I mean, Expedition map I think is in the deck. I can't remember which version I put on tapped out, but I mean, like, typically I'll find Nykthos, I think, with it.
Yeah, that's what I would think.
You just need the ramp.
Right.
Sure.
But I mean, those cards are fun, and then you get to run stuff like Arcane Adaptation.
Yeah,
yeah.
Arcane Adaptation.
Yeah, and like Xenographed, and like you can name whatever you want, and it's just so
and it's going to be helpful.
And so weird.
So what do you end up typically naming with Arcane Adaptation?
Typically it's going to be wizards. I think like 9 out of 10 times, but like the game. It's like, oh no, it hasn't gone up yet. Okay, never mind. There's a game coming out tomorrow, which I guess when this goes up will be in the past, where I name plants.
Okay.
And
it's really funny.
Things get real nutty.
What are the conditions that are needed? Okay. That's
so
funny.
it's clones. It's clones basically.
Yeah.
And there's one very particular 7-drop in green that cares about plants. And when you have several clones of that,
Mm-hmm.
And then you start playing your
suddenly
lands.
you play one land, and suddenly things get very, very large, very, very quickly.
Oh my gosh, that's dope. I'm excited to watch that.
Yeah. I'd say it's a spoiler, but it'll be like past tense by the
Well,
time.
that's it. I mean, like, unless they haven't seen the video by the time this is coming out, like, it's the risk we're willing to take.
I guess so. We'll be behind that
Yeah.
ball a little bit. So.
It's yeah. Every time I see that there's a Mistform game, I'm normally like I would think.
Are you telling me you don't watch every single game as soon as they're released when I put them
No,
on?
I watch them twice. I'm
hanging up. I'm done. I'm out. Later, nerds.
Later.
Yeah,
when I see
like,
a Mistform game, what I was gonna say is I stop whatever I'm doing. Like if I'm at work,
that's the right answer.
I'm like, I gotta watch this, because it just, I don't know, this deck just, yeah, it's different every time. Because some of them, like the lines of play, like you'll see, because it seems like you kind of just get volunteers to play, and I'll kind of like go through the roster, and if I see Duretti, I'm like, well, is it his Duretti or is it some other guy's?
Yeah.
But I know you're the only one running the Mistform. Like, I don't think you've pulled anybody in that had one too. But
I had my buddy played it last week when he was on camera, because he had Kami of the Moon, the blue 2-drop that's basically a Howling
makes everybody
Mine.
draw.
mm-hmm.
But it's basically just
Wait, that's his
extra
commander?
turns. Yeah, his deck is just extra turns, and it is miserable to play against because it's all fast mana and tutors and stuff like that. And I was like, we're not putting this on camera. No one's gonna want to watch this.
So you're like, play this.
Yeah, there's
exactly.
a game
I'm
nights
like, you want to play
episode
mono
for that.
blue? Play a good mono blue deck. So
Yeah.
I feel a little deceived by that, just the notion of it, because I'm just like, everybody's gonna be drawing cards. But
yeah, everyone will if they ever get a turn.
potentially, if you ever take another turn, yeah, exactly. Like I'm just going to be drawing 2 every turn, which is just the rest of the game at this point. So enjoy.
Thanks,
You
guys.
guys would freak out if somebody, like if I made a deck like that. Like everybody we play with would just be like, why are you doing this?
What is wrong with you? Why?
Yeah.
Who made you like this?
Do you even like us?
It's gonna be one of those Jackie Brown moments, like your ass used to be beautiful.
Yeah. Is this like a hint? Are you hinting at something that you just want us to leave?
Do you not want to play with us anymore? Is that what you're saying? Like we don't want to play Magic?
You could just say
don't
it.
come.
Yeah.
Just don't be here.
You can just say it. You don't need to make this like, guy that shows off his ass in your card. Your command
Exactly.
zone.
So I guess something else that stands out to me about this deck is, like we talked about kind of up front, the selection of a mono blue commander. If you're trying to do that, trying to put yourself in that deck building space, can kind of be, I don't know, maybe limiting, and there's definitely reputations. Like we talked about Azami, Lady of Scrolls, everybody knows there's something coming with that. And of course you're running Azami, Lady of Scrolls and in the deck in the 99. And I just like, like I say, that last gameplay video that I watched with this deck, like you had yourself in a position where you could take advantage of that without being a noticeable threat to everybody right up front.
Right. I mean, like people respect the power of Azami, especially considering like in the game you're talking about, I think it was Matt, Trevor, and Mike.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like one of my core groups of guys that I played with in Jersey. Matt had an Azami deck. Like he's got a tuned competitive like CDH Azami deck. So he knows the power of it. But all he had was like board wipes, and it was going to hinder him more than it was help sort of progress him. So killing her with a board wipe just didn't make sense. And so when you know that the deck isn't going to just kind of explode with Azami, it makes her so much less threatening. Exactly. Like that's exactly it.
And the nice thing that I liked in that is, like, I think he had a Mirage Mirror, and so he actually started copying your Azami and getting some card advantage off of it. It was just, it was a really fun interchange. I liked, and I think that's something I like about the power level where your deck sits, is that it can do what it needs to respond to the situation, but it's not like, okay.
If I didn't know anything about this deck, I'd think, is this just in there so he can draw 2 cards? Like that's it? Because that's worth it. Like even at its most basement level of power. But then once I see another wizard come out, I'd be like, okay, wait a minute. This is actually something that he's planning on exploiting
Yeah,
it. But how many cards have you got?
It's like a core theme, exactly.
Right, like how many cards have you nabbed out of it before I've realized that? You know, like, oh wait, never mind. He really is going for wizards. You know? Yeah.
But then I like that, like, go down the list and you've got like the Galecaster Colossus, which you can kind of put those wizards to use in some other fun ways. Like, okay, we're popping things back to people's hands.
Filthy. He cannot resolve with like any kind of board state. Otherwise, like you have nothing except for lands. Like enjoy casting it. Like I'm not going to counter it. I'm just going to bounce it back to your hand. Whatever, it's fine.
Yeah, it's going to be a bounce house pretty quick with that out.
Yeah.
I want a deck where that works, the Galecaster Colossus, because like my the what's the new Simic birthing pod commander? That was like the deck that we did that I came up with. That was like the end of the chain, was just to get that out. Yeah. Like leave as many wizards behind, and I had like these alternate routes of persist to kind of keep them behind it, and then as soon as it comes out, like it's it's not a critter hoop behemoth. Like,
and he didn't want to just like win. He just wanted to invite everybody to his bounce house party.
I knew that's where everyone was gonna go. Like it's gonna go into Protean Hulk. Like that's where we're headed. You know, like every deck tech that any content creator pushed out was gonna be there. So my whole thing was like trying to keep the Elite Arcanist out somehow, some way. Like if you pot into him, you can't do anything else. You got to go around him somehow, and then find that Galecaster and just bounce everything off.
Yeah, give it your own sort of like your own signature to it. Like don't just go the traditional route of like, okay, it's obviously this is a very good card in the deck.
Yeah. What does this? I gotta ask. Like, if I was your opponent, right, and I'm going up against this thing, like what would I have to do? Like, what's the chink in this thing's armor?
Basically, board wipes. Board wipes are really like the deck. Blue doesn't have a lot of great ways to recur cards from the graveyard, which is one of the main problems, especially creatures. Like I've put in a Sword of Light and Shadow, I think it's called, the black-white one.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Because you need a way. Like if you lose 2 or 3 lords, or let's say a Zami, or any of the other critical kind of like, that's it. You just lose so much steam, and you fall far behind, and then you're just kind of like out of it, and you just need ways to sort of reassemble those pieces without being with a very limited color selection in mono blue or colorless. Like there's not a lot of ways to deal with it.
Yeah, and you're not really looking to load more counter spells into this thing.
Exactly.
I just don't think this deck could handle that. Like it definitely needs the permanents coming out on time. Yeah, not you need holding up another blue and holding up another blue. I think that's like a pitfall you could fall into with this for sure. Because I'm like
tap out a lot.
Because ours is a pretty our play group's really edict heavy. Like there's edicts going off all the time.
Yeah.
And I thought
a lot of sacrifice for sure.
Oh, dude. Like so if I try to do this, I gotta get counter spells. Like I can't have stuff like that resolved. But then I'm looking at it going, well, am I really gonna pass up the turn I could resolve a Sage of Fables so I can hold up 2 blue? You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's tough. Like that's always the issue with the deck is you'll probably have at least 1 counter spell in hand, and then we'll say 2 creatures that you could cast that would sort of really help get you on the way to sort of winning the game. And you're thinking to yourself, well, what am I playing against? And it's like, okay, is it a combo deck? Is it a very board wipe heavy deck? And you're just always kind of like, you have to assess constantly what's going on, and you can't just kind of drop things willy nilly or just without thinking about it, because you'll lose them, and then you're just like, okay, well, I'm never getting this back now. Great.
Yeah. Yeah. Like all the work to setting it up. Oh.
Yeah. And then Day of Judgment comes and you're like, well, okay, cool. I'll just be here in the corner until the next game.
See you
play
guys.
Land for turn and die.
I feel like my mono green decks are like that. Like, or my mono green deck is like that, where I'm just like,
once it eats a board
like
wipe.
I'm just gonna try and race everybody to the punch, and if you board wipe me, then well, thanks for that. I'll see you guys later.
Yeah, my issue with mono green is, what's the card called? I have a trigger finger for its, I think, Natural Affinity. It's like an instant, and it turns all your lands into 2/2s.
Oh, yeah, that's dangerous.
I play it in Titania, and I'm always super confident. Like I'm like, when she's out, I'm like, oh, you're in a board wipe, are you? It's like, how about Armageddon? And I have like 6/5/3s.
All lands, everybody.
That's it. It hits everybody.
Well, there's what's that commander that lets you discard cards that animate lands? Like Jolriel.
Jorio?
Yeah, she's one of the spell shapers. She's one of the old school like create. But you target the player, and that's a threat that's always kind of omnipresent. Like if she was the commander, but I don't know how to put her ability to work because of the card advantage problem. Like you're ditching 2, I think is her ask.
Yeah,
that one's I don't know. Mono green. We've talked about it quite a bit on this podcast. Like, I guess we feel like it's kind of bled out. Like it has a lot of abilities that are, they're great for it, but
sure,
all these other colors aren't getting things like a Rishkar's expertise. You know what I mean? Or a Beast Within. Like no one else is really getting something that's just like, this is going in every green deck. Like it's just happening.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So it's just, I don't know. Like they can get obnoxious to me. The one that I've been running lately is Grathama.
He's fun. I've seen him twice. I think he's criminally underplayed. He's quite strong.
Yeah, I dig it. Like it's pretty. It's weird to see people like have something out where I'm like they could fight and draw 8 cards, and then they overvalue their creature over the potential of a new hand, so they won't do it. So I'm like, well, I'm going to swing in. And I keep swinging in with this like 10-8, and they'll use that like 4-4 to block. So now they just like, the window keeps opening and closing throughout the entire game. And then you'll have people that, they'll just suicide whatever into it. Like, you know.
It puts them in an interesting conundrum because you have to like on the fly assess what you could potentially draw versus what you have on the board.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have like a huge window of opportunity to decide this. Like you have, assuming you're not going to let the person sit there for 15 minutes in the tank, like thinking like, okay, well, if I do this and I draw that, and then like you have to be on the ball and you have to know your deck super well. And you also have to know like what could potentially change things. So I like that. It's fun like that.
Yeah. The deck kind of freaks me out when I'm playing it. When last time we played, Cam's like, I half kind of want to just like, cause he had a hasted Con Sphinx and he hasn't drawn anything off the Con Sphinx yet.
He's like, I'm just going to smash the
He
Con
actually
Sphinx
said that.
in.
He's like, I probably should just do the 2 together because there wasn't basically the way it worked is like he just lose the 2 creatures. But he's like, I don't think you guys are going to leave this Con Sphinx up anyway by the time I get to my turn.
Exactly.
And I told him like, don't do that. Like I've never said don't kill a Con Sphinx off. You know, like he's going to draw 8 cards. Like, like don't do it, dude. It's your Con Sphinx, my dude. Like think about what if I draw a ton of cards, and that's like kind of what talked him out of it. Like that he was just gonna match the draw. But
well, it's the politics of it. It's fun. Like that's one of the best parts of EDH is when you're like, no, you don't want to do that. You're gonna potentially draw twice as many next time.
Dude, I could draw a lot of cards on my turn.
Yeah,
that means you do.
Oh man. So I'm curious, Andrew. Like you were saying that you weren't like super big into mono blue before doing this Mistform Ultimus deck. What are your colors of preference in Magic the Gathering?
Like Jund, predominantly Jund.
Okay.
I would say like black, red, and green are my like comfort zones.
Mm-hmm.
White and blue less so. But yeah, Jund for me is home. Like those are like you can ramp. You can blow stuff up. You got card draw. I mean, like you got dragons. It speaks to me.
I get you.
Yeah, I want a new Jund commander for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like I play Prosh, but I know he's kind of like I think he's like the poster boy for Jund at this point because that's pretty much all anyone plays if they're gonna play competitively.
Yeah,
but I still love him. He's my boy.
He does some work, even though everybody knows what work is coming at him. He's still gonna do it.
I mean, he's an inevitability because you know that no matter what, once they stick something like Perforos or Impact Tremors or things like that, things are just going to go so poorly moving forward unless you deal with them like immediately.
Yeah, it's spiraling in the wrong direction.
He just shreds everyone's game plans. Like we've seen people do, what is it, Sadistic Hypnotist with his stuff. Like, all right, everybody discard this many cards. Like, you just can't hide from that fucking deck, dude. Yeah, that deck's good. I kind of been looking at like some of the Jund partner pairs, trying to just figure out. I wanted to do something with like Smasher. I saw one of your videos. It was one guy. He had like a spell slingery Smasher.
Trevor plays File Smasher and Ikra.
That thing is
spell slingers.
Dope, dude. Yeah,
it's beautiful. It's he gets a lot of not attitude, but his deck is very consistent.
Does he win ever with it? Like, have you seen
he wins a lot. Like, I would say his win rate with it's like 80% at this point.
Wow.
Dude, his win
And
con,
it's-
Kyle, is it's like Animate Lands, actually. It's, what is it? The Rude Awakening, I think is what
Rude
his way-
Awakening.
He just goes
Okay.
infinite with it somehow in a Jund
Yeah.
deck.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
It's wonderful.
it was a couple months ago, maybe like earlier last year, he would post a game with him doing that. And I'm like, damn, that's cool. And then you got
Yeah,
like a
it's
spell
spicy.
slingery with Smash or True too lately. I've seen the Marty one.
Yeah, I mean, I took a page from his book and I was like, well, I'm going to go one step further and make it even harder because like green has a lot of ways to recur stuff like
Mhm.
Seasons Past,
Mhm. Yeah,
Eternal
yeah.
Witness. There are ways to get things back to your hand. And I was like, what if we remove that and stick something that's like really not very intuitively good for spell casting?
Uh-huh.
And so we stuck white in there. And so it's Marduk's spell slingers. So I have to work for it a lot more to like kind of get the same results. But it lets me run a little. I've been able to run like interesting cards that I wanted to play anyway. It's like bonus round. Bonus round, ever since it was spoiled in Battle Bond, is my
Yeah.
obsession. Like I think that card is bananas.
Andy brings that one up. Like it's, I
Oh my
don't
goodness,
think
I
it's
love
something
it.
we see that much.
I haven't
though.
cast
I
it.
love
I haven't had a chance to. I've never drawn it. I have it, I think, in Niv-Mizzet.
It's beautiful. It's a wonderful card, and like you play it with white because white has so many ways to deny them. Like with what's the white 2-drop that basically people can't play on your turn?
Yeah, like the Grand Abolisher.
Grand Abolisher, perfect. That's him. Yeah. So like you drop him and then you just go to town and you can grind out so much value even with just like mana geyser. Even if you're not going to get like a critical mass of mana, but you get 2 copies for 5 and you can be like up ahead by like 24 mana.
Oh, that's
as
a
result of
huge
that.
swell.
What's good about bonus round
Yeah.
is the mana. Like
Yeah.
getting that effect anywhere else, the setup is too demanding. Like this can happen. It pays you the turn you shoot it.
Yep.
Where anytime
Yep.
you're looking for something like this, like you're not going to be able to follow up the same turn.
Yeah.
That's why it's good. And with
And it's fantastic. I mean, I won in a game quite quickly. It was one of the twofers where it's like 2 games stuck together because like they're super short.
Okay.
And my line of play was like bonus round, Yawgmoth will cast bonus round, fork the bonus round, and then I finished off with Dark Petition.
It's like double
And so, like,
overtime.
That's
I had, like,
crazy.
I had 5 iterations of Dark Petition. All I needed was Torment of Hellfire, and then you just kind of cast that, and then you get 5 of it with the 12 mana. It was stupid. It was just disgusting, and it was all because of bonus round. It just enabled the whole line of play.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I love that.
those two are good.
Yeah.
His Jund one, like that itched my brain for a while. I was like, I want something like that going on.
Yeah,
'Cause
it's untraditional. It makes you play cards that are different, and like you can't do the same kind of stuff that like a blue-red
Oh,
deck
yeah.
would do or a Grixis
yeah.
deck would do.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And there's not like, I don't know, because even if he wanted to go like Teamer, like, I don't know, it would just strip out a really cool personality with the deck
Yep.
because he's doubling out a lot of the black stuff, and
Yeah,
it's a cool one. And then your Mardu one kind of freaks me out a little bit. That one's like, I could see that one being hard to play, you know,
it's
'cause-
dangerous.
Yeah, like I can see that one kind of being tough to.
Yeah.
His seems a little
He's
splashier
got
in
some
the end.
safety. He's got some safety checks in there.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
Originally, he had Ikra just to sort of grant him the green, but we've since learned that like if she connects, like Vile Smasher and her connecting, that's like 10 life a turn
Oh yeah.
just from her ability. And like that
That's a pretty good
padding
backbone.
can really,
Yeah.
that's it. It can save him from dying basically.
Yeah, I like decks like that. Like when they show up on your channel, some of the really weird ones that you've
Yeah.
encountered. I saw one a couple weeks ago that was like some dude doing like Exile Tribal.
Oh,
Do you remember that one?
He came to Platinum Star Games
Uh-huh.
and he told me about it beforehand. He's like, I'm going to play my Anafenza Tribal like Exile deck. And I was like, okay, cool. Like I
Okay.
didn't think anything of it.
Yeah.
And then he starts playing it, and I'm like, damn, like I'm not getting anything out
Right.
of this. Like I play a permanent, no, it's gone. Okay, it gets blown up, oh, it's exile.
Did you see this game,
And you're
Kyle?
just like,
I actually did miss this
Dude,
one.
this
I need to
kid-
check it out.
This kid, like card for card, like anytime anybody would present a problem, he had an answer for it. Like every
perfect
time.
answer.
Every time.
And then he killed me in such a beautiful way. Like I don't want to spoil it, but like it was with a new card, and I just did not see it coming until he started asking a specific question, which was how many cards are in exile.
Yeah, we evaluated this card pretty low in our review. We were just like, this thing is no. Yeah, I felt pretty stupid after that because he just whacked him with it. I'm like, oh my
But
god.
I don't think she's great in everything, but in this particular
Well, yeah,
build,
yeah,
which is
and how he
which
had-
is what's so special about it.
right, like how he got there
She's
too.
over the roof.
Yeah, That one was nuts.
That's
that was
cool.
That was a cool game. I didn't want to show like my girlfriend that one because that's like the color she's always operating in. Is because we have like a lot of graveyards going on too, and she's like, oh, I want to do an Anafenza deck, and I'm like, yeah, the problem with that, Tiff, though, is like no one will play their graveyard deck. They'll just see it. I mean, like no one's gonna. We only play once a week. Like we're not gonna come and sit down and go, well, I'm gonna try to muscle. Like maybe my brother would do that, but no one's gonna do it.
It's hard. Yeah, you can't power through that kind of stuff. Like that's the kind of thing where you're just like, okay, I lose one critical card or two critical cards, and I'm like, wow, my whole game plan is just gone.
Yeah, you'll arrogantly think, yeah, whatever, I'll just outspeed it or whatever. But no, like the deck's it's got a counter in its command zone. Like if you're running out of the graveyard, like they always have access to this prime card. Yeah. So she ended up never building it. But then I see this guy's list or it perform. I'm like, he's not really relying on the commander. Like if it happens, cool. It's everything else in his deck that's just like shredding everybody's.
Yep.
And they're gone forever, dude. It's gone forever. Like all of these, it's just.
Well, no one runs like Rift Sweeper in their deck when they're not expecting it. So you're just like, okay, well that's done. I guess that's what it is.
Yeah, that's what I love about your channels. There's nowhere you're, like I'm not trying to. There's other channels where it's like, yeah, dude, they got dual lands on turn whatever. Like they're, it's kind of like the same. I don't know, like your channel, you encounter the weirdest shit sometimes. You're like, what is this guy up to? And then, like sometimes it doesn't perform. And then you're like post evaluation of it. You're like, yeah, I like what he's trying to do. It sucks he couldn't get it set up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like we find that like there's sometimes there are very camera shy decks where it's like, in theory, like what he's talking about is really cool. And I'm like, I'm really excited to see what happens. And then we'll play 3 or 4 games that night and he gets stomped, just absolutely stomped. And you're just like, oh, that's really disappointing. Cause I just wanted to show everyone like this really fun interaction that you might not normally have thought of or seen, but it's one of the nicest things about the channel is the people being super like excited to come out and show off like their homebrews and like these like mad scientist kind of decks that you wouldn't normally see on like a more competitive build, because like the competitive decks typically are very
the same,
cutthroat, because you know what the best cards are in the format. You're going to play those cards. That's it. Like, why else would you? You're watering down the deck for no reason. But in these kind of things, you can get some really like mad scientist kind of like crazy off the wall. Just like, what was that? Who plays this card? Like, what is? I've never heard of this card before. What is this?
Yeah.
It kind of makes me self-conscious as a deck builder when I see people do cool shit like that. I'm like, I don't know how I came up with that. I don't know if I'm clever enough for something like that. Like that Jund Spellslinger one. I'm like, I never would have thought of that. I honestly wouldn't have. I never would have considered it. When somebody's like, say Spellslinger, I'm like, is that?
Yeah, is it?
Is that
blue black like Demir basically?
Right,
those,
I'm not
usually
thinking
those 2 wheelhouses of that.
Yeah,
kind of
if
thing.
they're like, say Jund, I'm like, well, really big dragons and
goblins.
Yeah, goblins.
Combat.
Give me some of those tokens.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. And
I think your channel, I think, adds a lot to the community in that regard, where it's very, very unique decks that we get to see because of the people you interact with, and
it's super cool. I love it. It's my favorite part about the whole thing. And I think it's what's keeping me going is the idea that I get to meet. At this point, I've met over like 100 people just who want to come and play.
Oh yeah,
and
dude, you've got a lot of people coming through. Yeah, and this Mistform Ultimate deck, like not to like loop it back too bad, but I think it's emblematic of your channel. It really is,
It's up there with like my Tristani Reanimator deck. I think those are some of my favorite like brews that I've done in the last little while.
It's fun because there's things that like people can't like. They're not going to be able to piece together what you're doing if they sit down, and just see your commander like it.
Yeah. You haven't established sort of like a game plan against them, like if you sat down against something like Prosh or what's the Mardu one, the Helm Smasher, Helm Smasher.
Yeah,
like what their game plan is, whereas these are kind of like, why are you doing this? Like,
it's obfuscated from people for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, Mistform. Wait, can I see that?
It's like, what does he do again?
So is this going to be?
He can attack, but he's still a wall. I don't understand what that means.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Yeah, what the implication is. I don't know, man. How would you feel if I built this deck, man, and I started putting it on my channel?
I feel pretty good. I'd be like, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say it. It's his thing for sure. But here it is over here doing the same.
But it's not
nonsense.
my thing. I mean, it's your build. I mean, like you can take inspiration for something and make it your own. Like I don't have like a patent pending trademark.
Yeah, but I don't know what I'd change with this. I was like, before coming in here, I was like, I wonder if I have any suggestions that he could take away. And I'm looking at, I'm like, yeah, no, this is. I wouldn't take this out.
There are a lot of cards. There are a lot of cards that I've had to cut that I honestly don't know. There's an artist. Oh my god, I forgot his last name. It's Jesper. He's done a lot of like he did the
it's like icing boggles. Or whatever, Jesper Ising or whatever his name is.
Yeah, he and I talk on Facebook a lot because he saw my Mistform deck and he's like, dude, he's like, I have a Mistform deck, and so like he and I have been going back and forth, and like he's given me a ton of suggestions that I was like, what?
Oh, that's
and I'm
awesome.
Like, is that as good as I think?
He plays the game.
And he's like, dude, he's like, it's amazing. You got to test it out.
Huh. Yeah, he's a Mistform player out there. Yeah, the only thing I'd probably want to try out is that sliver, the one that like you can just use slivers to tap down permanents.
Oh yeah,
to knock out a blocker, I guess. But it seems like you already have like really good evasion in here anyway.
But it's permanents too, so you can do stuff on like their upkeep or at the end of their draw step. Like you could tap down their cradle, you could mess with their cabal coffers. Like it gives you an extra layer of versatility that you wouldn't normally have, which I kind of like.
Yeah, it's the telekinetic sliver. It's 2 blue, and all slivers have tap target permanent. Yeah. God, if it had tap or untap, that would just be like, okay.
Oh, that would be broken, I think, at this point. That's pretty wild.
I'd be all over that, but
oh, for sure. I'd be like, okay, let's tap Nykthos 600 times. Which I mean, like in mono blue, it might not necessarily like finish the game, but that's still a lot of mana.
Like, and I don't have Blue Sun Zenith in this deck, so pass.
Yeah.
I did something cool, guys.
I just want you to know I can do it. That's all I'm demonstrating.
I want to show you. You must see this.
Yeah. What are you gonna do with it? Oh, here comes the Blue Sun Zenith. Yeah, no, I don't have it. All right, go. Your turn.
That was great. I made 9,000 mana. Pass.
Record set.
Yeah, and this is the other thing is like I think that this deck's only going to get more options as we go down. Like every time they do a tribal blue anything, it's up for consideration. Because that's what I said about Unesh is, they're not going to stop doing Sphinxes. Like we're going to keep getting a spectrum. Like I like cards like this where, like if they drop anything new, I'm going to jam that in for sure. Like Naru Meha, I guess, has already made it in here.
What I like is that it's going to keep you excited and interested in every set moving forward. Because even if it's not necessarily a tribal deck, there's still a lot of wizards. There's still a lot of merfolks that just kind of pop up here and there. And like, you got to reassess. Like you got to be like, is this worth cutting? Is this worth adding? Like it keeps you interested in the deck.
Which is such a huge part of the battle, I think, as an EDH player is keeping that interest with decks. Like I think Andy and I, because we've been,
my solution is just to have 15 of them.
Yeah, I think as we've been doing the podcast, we've kind of come to this space of like, there's commanders where there's one route that we've built and it kind of runs its course and that's cool. And there's other commanders where we keep tinkering and it's fun to kind of come up with new things to do with them and change them. Like you point out when there's new stuff that comes out, like you can keep your eye on everything.
Well, that's it. I mean, like that's what I like, and like. Looping back to the Nekasar thing where it's like, okay, very much you only want to look for cards that wheel or cards that deal damage when you're drawing.
Yeah.
And there's such a linear, like a small design space for those kind of things. Mm-hmm. You can't always be excited about stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of disappointing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a really good point.
Like, I don't know. It's not that I'm not okay with those, but for how much you're focused on this game and how much you're playing it, like it's going to get played out pretty quick with stuff like him.
I admire the people who are committed to it. What worries me in the case of those decks, again, is that you have people who want to play EDH. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They get very excited about building a new deck. And I think, like you said, it's kind of a pitfall. And if you don't have a crazy budget or if you don't have an expansive library to pull upon, committing your money and your time to building a deck like this only to get kind of burned out on it after like a month or two can really affect your ability to enjoy the format as a whole. Because you're just going to be like, well, is every EDH deck like this? Like, am I going to get bored of it after 2 months?
They're not. Yeah.
And that's it. And it it paints a different picture than I think what really is wonderful about EDH is just the sheer volume of card pool and things you can pull and stick in.
And the intuition you have to develop to know, like, because I don't think anyone like new to it would see the Mistform Ultimus and say, man, that's going to be dope. You know? But when they see something like Nekusar or I don't know, so we have this guy that's playing with us. He played the game back in the day, and he's like, before EDH was a thing, and he's come back to it. And, you know, he's trying to spread his wings a little bit, right? He wants to play different commanders. And his thing lately has been like, yeah, I really want to, he drew a box topper Sigarda. Okay. And so he's just obliged to make it, I guess, is in his mind, right? Like I gotta make the deck. And I kind of told him, like, I don't see it doing anything more than these couple of strategies. Either you do like a really dig in pillow fort strategy where she's not really getting all that much bigger, but it's getting harder and harder to interact with you. And then maybe like drop an Ancestral Mask. Like that's probably the long game format for her.
Yeah.
Or the Voltron strategy. I just don't know what else to do with this chick besides these two things. And then I kind of told him, like, it's going to get really boring really quick, right? Because you had a Sigarda deck. And,
yeah, I had one. That was one of my early decks.
And how you didn't even really play it even back then.
Yeah.
You know, you were more interested in Erebus because he's just kind of not really asking you to do anything specific.
Yeah, I had a lot of exploration space with Erebus.
Yeah, like...
He's open-ended. It's just like, okay, cool. I got Denial of Life Gain and I got card draw on my command zone. Perfect.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's like a column you can go down for sure. But if someone says, yeah, I have like a discard deck with Erebus, and I'd be like, all right, yeah, that makes sense. Or anything. Like there's not really... But anyway, he goes out and, you know, spends money or pulls from his collection and does what he can. Mm-hmm. And yeah, like he's discouraged. So,
well, that's it. And it's frustrating.
Yeah.
And I feel bad for people like that. It's like not in the pity sense, but like I want them to enjoy what they invest in.
Right. And keep coming back to play with you. And because he's a cool guy. But so we did a Scarab God list for him, you know, and he's like, I just pretty much made the list for him, and he was pretty humble about it. He's like, yeah, just do it. You know more about this shit than I do. Just do it. I don't want to,
That's
you
fair.
know, did it, played it. And he's like, okay, yeah, like this deck, I can see it being, you know, like the longevity's there. Like it's just ETB stuff. That's all you're looking to do, you know, but I don't know. It's this kind of thing is kind of hard to teach people as like an intuition for long-term deck building. Like you make a deck, you're going to work on it for a while. And yeah, it's going to be different. It's not even going to look the same a year from now after you're done with it.
Well, that's it. And I mean, that's the problem I have with like, I get people who are messaging me like, oh, can you look over my list? Can you look over my list and like tell me your suggestions? And I'm happy to do like a cursory glance. But the problem is like, I don't know your play group. I don't know who you play against. I don't know what you like. Like it's impossible for me to make these suggestions for people.
Yeah.
And at the same time, like, I don't want to tell people what to play. Like I can give you a suggestion. But like a lot of the times when I'm making like one of the Conquering Your Commander videos, like I don't want to give you a list of 99 because I want you to go out and like put your pet cards in. Like you play mono blue and you love playing Think Twice, just jam it in. Like I'm happy that you enjoy that card.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think of all the formats, like context matters most probably with EDH, right? Like as you point out, your preferences, your desires, the play group you're playing with, that's what builds your deck.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like it's part of the experience is it's showing off what you like to do in the game, and like if you do like Voltron or you like Nekusar, like more power to you. Like put those cards that you love into those decks, and like as long as you're having a good time,
maybe never.
I'll say 9 out of 10 times I'm having fun too.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, I mean, I'll figure it out. Like, it's not that I, like, if somebody was playing Nekusar every weekend, it's like, all right, well, let me just get Cross and Grip. I'm just going to break your enchant every time. Yeah,
and
I'm okay for that.
Sort of people playing different cards as a result. Like, you have, like, if someone is always playing Nekusar, I'd start probably running more bounce in Mistform.
Right.
Because all of a sudden I got to deal with those permanents.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's forcing an answer.
Mm-hmm.
Well, cool, man. Yeah, I'm really into this one. I'd really... Man, if it just...
I'm waiting for Andy to build it. I'm waiting for it.
I want to. I do. Like, I'm just looking at it like, is there anything I can...
It's not
like,
expensive.
spin?
I mean, the worst part of some of them are Folklords, because they see play in Modern.
Sure.
But beyond that, like some of the stuff is pretty cheap.
Yeah, no, this thing is not a problem at all because it's not running any really that fast mana artifact stuff too. I don't really know if it benefits from that because there's some deep blue here. You need like it's like one colorless.
The symbols keep you humble.
Yeah, no joke, they do. Yeah, this one's really not.
I like that. I like that as a way. The symbols keep you humble.
Well, it's it. Like you can't power it out. Like you can't get like that turn 1 Duretti. Like there's no like that doesn't happen. Like yeah, okay, you could cast Mistform on turn 1, but then what are you gonna do? Hit him for 3?
Yeah, good job.
It's like I did it. Like only another like 7 swings and I got you. Cool. This is a good countdown.
Well, hey, let's. Is there anything that you've got coming up that you're like excited about? Excited? I mean, just kind of sticking with your schedule of gameplay. Or is there anything new that you're excited for people to see?
I mean, not really. I'm trying to dabble in some Legacy.
Okay.
Yeah, you did a video for that. I saw that.
Yeah, it kind of lends itself well to EDH if you have like the cards.
Yeah.
So like that's just another format, and it's interesting. It's nice to get a kind of different format because I've been burned on Modern. Three times now. I built Storm when it first came out. They banned Seething Song, and I got really upset about it, and I stopped playing. Then my buddy was like, "No, you got to play Modern. It's super good." And I was like, "Okay, cool." And I'd played Birthing Pod in Standard,
and then it got banned.
With that, and they banned that. And I was like, "Well, this is stupid. I don't like this format."
I really like Splinter Twin, so.
And then I played Splinter Twin, so I'm really? 3 for 3 right now.
I was just good. Ew.
Yeah, so I'm taking a break from me and Modern are seeing other people right now.
That's fair. Andy and I both built Modern decks a few years ago, and we played them like, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 times against each other, and we would just realize like, wow, this is
not for me.
Yeah, like I think we both got angry too because there was this realization of I either pull it off or I don't.
Yeah,
really, like that's how Modern plays out. Like there isn't this long interplay like where you're kind of like interacting with each other. It's just like, did I pull it off or did you pull your thing off first?
There's kind of a goldfishy element to it.
Well, there's just like zero. Not like I don't think there's jank in Standard, but it's off enough, you know, like there's something just about the mana cost. Like they've kept the power level interesting enough in Standard, but it's expensive and you lose a lot of like equity playing it, right? Like you have to buy cards that you know aren't going to maintain their value. Like everyone saw that Scarab God was not going to be a $50 card forever, you know, like everyone knew that, but people were buying them, you know? But Modern, it's like, yeah, it's the optimal. I mean, aside from Legacy, but Modern Legacy is just one of those.
Vintage. Ooh.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, only like rich old men play Vintage.
I can't wait till I'm one of those. A rich old man.
I would like to be one of those now.
Let's do that now.
Done.
Set up that Magic the Gathering retirement community.
Exactly.
It's just this commune of people that play Vintage.
Exclusively Vintage.
Modern on tap, constant. Or you got Mountain Dew on tap. Constantly.
Yeah, you gotta have like
no sleeves, just playing on like tabletops. Just caution to the wind there.
Like your entrance interview, you got to bring your time vault or whatever with you. You know, it's like with your ID. So you need your birth certificate, your ID, and your time vault.
Also, your receipt of when you bought the time vaults, that we know that you bought it back then and not now.
Yeah,
there's that extra level of gatekeeping going on there.
Yeah, the extra level. See, this wasn't bought, you know, within the last decade. So
yeah, I got this when it was $50.
This wasn't a fake from China.
Yeah, I can't even tell the difference with those two. After we had a guy that brought some Chinese fakes into our play group. I can't tell. I'm not one of those guys, you know. I don't have like one of those like diamond monocles, you know, like. So he handed 2 of them to me. Like one was a real one, and it was like 2 fetch lands.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, I don't know which. You're saying one of these is fake? He's like, yeah. And he actually, like, when I handed it back to him,
he had to figure it out.
He's like, I actually don't know anymore which ones are real. Those freak me out for sure. I have to wonder how many I've gotten from Amazon like that are fake. You know, I'd never know.
I'm worried about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a concern, and it's as a result one of the few reasons why I only buy now from like the big stores at this point, because I have to hope
They have some kind of quality control.
Yeah. And they
before-
typically are. I mean, like usually they can explain in such a way that I feel comfortable knowing that, like, okay, like obviously this is well thought out. They have a practice that kind of goes through it, and they have people who know what they're looking for in terms of fakes. So
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I
because
know.
otherwise it's just you're it's so risky. And I'm always reading these horror stories about like going through Amazon or like different like a TCG player to get like the money back can be such a headache, and it's just not something I want to deal with.
Yeah. Agreed.
For when you're ready to move off the cards, like cash them out or whatever.
Yeah.
These aren't real. What?
And then
I'd
you're
be
like,
upset because I
that's
bought some
upsetting.
pricey ones from Amazon. Because I'll have like cash back bonus or something like that. Like I want to cash out, and like I got my swords from Amazon, and I have no confidence that they're real.
Oh, that's sad. That makes me sad.
I have no confidence that they're real because I can't tell. I'm not that guy, And honestly, I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
It's fair. Keep me plead the fifth.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Do you have your papers for your cards, kind of a thing?
Certificate of authenticity.
Well, Andrew, this has been fun to have you on, man. Like we really appreciate you
great.
taking the time to come chat with us.
Yeah, I'm really into your magic philosophy. I'm kind of finding it aligns well with ours. Like your idea about it.
Yeah, I think it's pretty laid back. I mean, I'm a pretty laid back guy. So it's just you just got to play to have fun. Play with your friends. Play with people you never met. I mean, like it's a great way to meet new people when you move to town, and it's a great way to spend a Saturday night. Like you can just get together. You don't got to spend crazy amounts of money. You just like you guys want to buy some beers and some chips. Like you're good to go.
Yeah, it's cool. It's rad stuff.
Yeah, we call it church.
We do.
Church?
Yeah.
People come to church.
Because like a lot of
Nice.
the people we play with, I work with, and they'll come up to me at work. They'll be like, "Hey man, are we having church this Saturday?" And people like overhear this and go, "I didn't know you guys were religious," because they don't really know.
Yes.
Like, do we have enough people for church? Yeah, we can't have quorum. I need one more for quorum
Oh,
for the
awkward.
ritual to be complete.
What kind of church do you guys go to?
That sounds-
the dark ritual kind.
Church of Niv Mizzet.
The chapel of the Orzhov Syndicate.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Thanks for coming on. That was dope.
My pleasure.
You got to do it again. You're gonna do it again.
I will.
Okay.
I mean, my schedule is pretty free.
we're hoping you have had as good a time as us because we've had a good time.
I have. I have.
Hey, thanks for joining us for the Legendary Creature podcast, and a huge thanks to Andrew from MTG Muddstah for joining us, just talking Magic the Gathering. We hope that you all had as good a time as we did chatting with him. We'll post a link to the MTG Muddstah YouTube channel so you can check out those gameplay videos if you haven't already. Also, you'll find a link in the show notes to the Mistform Ultimus deck list that Andrew talked about this episode. Also, check out our YouTube channel where you can find our gameplay videos, though we certainly do not have the output that MTG Muddstah does. Follow us on Twitter at legend_creature. Also, music this episode is by the artist Home. The album is Resting State. Tracks 5 and 18 are what you're listening to this episode. Until next time, take it easy.